All right. And then the last thing I need to do here is read through our hearing script. This basically just covers the procedure for the hearing. And we'll jump right into it. So this is the February 16th, 2022 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20220004. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing, unless someone has presented evidence or testimony in the form of writing or digitally prior to this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. Anyone from the public will then have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. I will give the zoning plans examiner, Trey Sheldon, an opportunity to provide any testimony that he would like at that time. And then in the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to an application, the applicant shall have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So for our purposes here today, guys, I'll give Mr. Bowling and Mr. Tomlin an opportunity to tell me about the project, what they plan to do, why they think I should approve this, why it's an appropriate, why the grant of relief is appropriate for this application. I'll then go to Mr. Popham. I'll take any testimony from Mr. Popham, take any testimony from Mr. Sheldon. And then if there's any testimony that's in opposition, then I'll give Mr. Bowling an opportunity to respond to that and then make any final statements. So Mr. Popham, you'll just have one opportunity to address me here today. So just keep that in mind. It's generally just one bite at the apple. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. That's generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who is not present at this hearing. In the event of any technical difficulties with our Zoom technology here, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. And so if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, doing anything other than just strictly observing the hearing, then you need to be sworn in. If you're not sure whether you're going to testify, I can swear you in later. But if you know you're going to testify, I'd like to swear everyone in now that's going to offer any testimony whatsoever. So if that's you, if you could take yourself off mute, I need everyone to answer out loud. I need everyone to raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. And Mr. Tomlin, it looks like you're trying to, let's try that one more time. I need everyone to answer out loud. I need you to be off mute. There we go. You solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. All right, we're all sworn in. Who's going to be taking the lead here on telling me more about this project and why it's appropriate in any background?
I'll do that.
Okay, Mr. Bowling, the floor is yours. And I'm just going to keep everyone else on mute until they testify. All right, Mr. Bowling.
So yeah, the situation is we were wanting to turn it into a 3-bedroom by having a 2nd-story addition above existing walls with a poured foundation. So our architect drew it up off of the Cages map plan city documents, city information. And so we came in with an average of 17 something feet. And we're hoping to get the variance so that we can do the addition as planned to turn it 3-bedroom to kind of match the style of the housing that is currently there. And also to renovate the house from the condition that it was when we bought it.
So, Mr. Bowling, you're saying that this once did contain a 2nd story with a 3rd bedroom?
Currently, it only had a kitchen sticking out the back that's only 1st floor. The rest of the house is 2-story. So we're just wanting to build above to continue the existing roof line. And we're only adding walls that are above the poured foundation. So the existing back wall is I guess, within question, the distance that is in question for the top wall, but
Gotcha.
it's currently exactly where we're wanting to build the one above it.
Okay. So by adding that second story in the rear, will that affect any light, air, anything like that for adjacent properties?
I don't believe so. It's up against kind of a wooded fence line.
Okay.
And the properties either side, directly either side, I think are there's no house there at all. And then there's another house across one empty lot. And then there's a house directly behind it across the fence line.
Gotcha. So either side has vacant lots, and then there is one in the rear. Is that right?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And the style of the addition, will it match the existing house and the character of the rest of the neighborhood?
Yes, we're going to continue the same ridge line back and then match the same siding.
Okay. And are houses of this size, and I'm just taking a look at Cages now, are houses of this size and mass, are they common in that neighborhood?
I believe so. And we're only adding, I would say, probably 200 to 300 something square feet, 18 by 12. So we're not substantially making it bigger. And we're just adding to the same footprint that's there, just building up.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell me, Mr. Bowen?
I don't believe so, unless James has something to add. And James is my, he's a contractor friend. I'm the contractor on the project, but I'm using his experience kind of bouncing off. So I asked him to join me.
Sure, got it. James, you're on mute, but anything you want to add to Mr. Bowling's testimony on this project?
Nothing. I think he kind of covered everything else on it. The addition that we're going, it's not addition. We're just kind of going up, like he said, to reiterate, going directly above the existing footprint. So it's a total of like 210 square foot that's being added for a master bedroom. But as far as blocking wind or sunlight or anything like that, as Dan said, there's a tree line, a fenced tree line in the back on the adjacent house to the rear. There's one empty lot to the left of that property, and then I think there's two of them to the right. So I mean,
Okay.
I don't believe that. I mean, no more sunlight or wind would be blocked than what's already blocked. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I don't think I have any further questions for you guys right now. So let's go ahead. Let's give Mr. Popham, Mr. Sheldon an opportunity to testify, and you guys can respond to any of their comments. Mr. Popham.
Sure. Good morning. I don't have specific concerns per se. I own the lot at 3630. And there was a home there before that I raised that had some structural issues, and I tore that down years ago. So I don't have any concerns. I mean, I guess I would have some support. I don't know the full extent of the long-term plans, obviously, but I think the neighborhood could use some improvements. I've got a couple lots that I've been in and out of trying to do improvements, and just the way that the neighborhood's gone kind of up and down over the years, it has slowed some of my, I'll call it, development effort, just because of some of the challenges, whether it be vandalism or whatever it might be. So, interested and supportive. I think the one question or concern that I did have is just access to it. It's a tight spot back there, especially with the home behind it, and with the retaining walls, the way that street is set up. There may be some challenges, but I guess a lot of it's manual, just carrying stuff over.
Yes, Mr. Bowen or Mr. Tom, would you respond to that directly?
Yeah, absolutely, and I can take this one. So as far as the challenges of access, we're covering the same footprint. It's the foundation. It's a poured foundation on 1920s. So to be directly up, I don't see a big issue. It's an existing structure that's there. So we'll be going higher, just a floor higher.
Mr. Popham, were you talking about during construction, getting materials
Yeah,
back there?
I was just referring to what kind of equipment might be needed to get to it, that sort of thing. Only because it's tight back there.
Gotcha.
Oh, no equipment. We'll just manually be carrying supplies up and then
Yep.
build it. It's not much work to do
Okay.
the addition, really.
Okay. I don't have any other concerns.
All right.
Yeah, no equipment needed, no cranes or anything.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Mr. Feldman, for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Mr. Sheldon, anything you'd like to add?
Just to reiterate from my staff report that the current footprint is legally non-conforming as to the rear yard setback. The sides are fine because it's 0 and 5. Side 0 minimum and 5 total for the SF2 single family zoning district. So there was no need for any relief as to side yards, which is often the case. As you know, we often have the side yards in. This one just has an irregular rear yard. It does allow them to average that. And I made note of the fact that there are numerous dwellings in the neighborhood that would have non-conforming rear yards. In fact, if this had a dwelling next to it, like the dwelling, as one of the fellows indicated, I believe Mr. Bowling indicated, there are vacant lots to either side. And basically, if this was adjacent to the house that's to the north that has even further non-conforming rear yard, you'd be able to use that into the averaging, and this wouldn't have needed a hearing at all. In fact, the house, I believe that's yet another house that's further north, like four parcels to the north, is also legally non-conforming. So there are a lot of those in the neighborhood, and these two are within 100 feet of it that are both non-conforming because of that angled rear yard. So there's no expansion of the building envelope really here. They're using the supporting walls now, and they're therefore not expanding upon the nonconformity at all. They're keeping it in the same envelope. So I think it's a very reasonable request. Oh, also one other thing, this dwelling, David, currently only has two bedrooms, I believe. Mr. Bowling could confirm that, but for a modern dwelling, either for one's personal use or sale or rental or whatnot, especially if a family lived there in the future, 2 bedrooms is not what one would expect as a modern amenity for a home. So I think that's also quite reasonable as far as the request.
All right, great. Mr. Bowling, Mr. Tomlin, anything in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sheldon, for bringing that up. Yeah, currently it's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, which doesn't really fit with today's housing market. So it would substantially raise the value and actually the desired livability to be able to turn into a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath by doing the rear master bedroom addition. So that's what I'd like to add.
Sure. Okay, great. Well, guys, we'll leave it at that then. I've had a chance to review the application materials. Based on that review and on the testimony here today, I am going to approve the requested relief. I need to formalize that in a written decision. That's typically what takes a little bit more time for me based on the queue of other projects I need to clear out right now. As I said in the beginning, it's generally 2 weeks. I'll try to get it to you as soon as I can. Sometimes I can beat that timeline. If as soon as I finish the decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody that's in this hearing. So all of you will have a copy of that decision really just moments after it's complete. As soon as you have that, Mr. Bowling and Mr. Tomlin, you can start working with Trey to get the necessary permitting. Trey will also have a copy, so he'll know once it's been sent to you. If you guys would like an update on the status of that decision, feel free to email me, and I'll get back to you and let you know where I'm at. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out, and happy to answer those as well. Anything else right now, guys?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. I want to thank you all again for your time, your testimony, for being here today. Hope you have a wonderful